Yeah, if this happened in real life, I'd be dead in 2 seconds. What up, my Namians, and welcome back to NimTV. I'm your host, Imageup2299, and we're back with another movie review. This time we are reviewing A Quiet Place, which was directed and starred John Krasinski. Yes, the same John Krasinski from The Office. And that's one reason why I love it, because I love The Office. I mean, you know, whatever. But anyways, yeah, so I saw A Quiet Place. Was it a good horror movie? That is the question on everybody's mind whenever you're reviewing a good horror movie. Was it creepy and scary, and did it make me, like, on the edge of my seat, like, with anticipation, like, oh my gosh, are they gonna make it out alive and stuff? And the answer to that is yes, it is a very good horror movie. So this movie basically follows a family who are in the middle of a situation that happened on Earth, right? Where these creatures are on the Earth. Basically, these creatures can't see, but they have a really, really heightened sense of hearing. And so the idea is that if you don't want to be killed by these creatures, you have to basically be completely silent. And that really adds to the intensity of it, because throughout the movie, you're constantly, like, watching these characters go around, you know, purposely being as quiet as they possibly can, and you're constantly, like, you know, looking at every little possible thing that could possibly make a noise, and you're constantly like, no, don't touch that, don't touch that. If you touch that, it's going to make too much noise. If you do that, you're going to make too much noise. Oh, you're not doing that? Okay, good. You're, like, constantly on the edge of your seat, like, is that going to make too much noise? Is that too much noise? Like, so that adds a certain level of intensity to it that I really like. Also, surprisingly, it was really well directed, I think, in general, which is interesting, because I did not really know that John Krasinski was even a director. This might be his first movie that he ever directed. I don't actually know. Like, I knew he was an actor, obviously, because he was in The Office, but I didn't actually know that, so that's really good. He did a really good job directing it. The way it's shot and everything is really good. There's a lot of really good visual storytelling moments, and that mostly comes down to the fact that you know, people aren't really talking in it. So it's a lot. Everything is done, you know, and conveyed to you mostly through visuals, and a little bit of talking due to sign language, because this family does know sign language, and so they talk to each other with sign language. And you might be wondering, why does this random family in the, you know, randomly know sign language? And the answer to that question is because they have a daughter who is deaf, and interestingly enough, she is played by a deaf actress, and I really liked that. That's really cool that they actually got a deaf person to play a deaf character. Really cool. I like that a lot. And that also adds a few things to it. That adds some interesting levels, and that also adds something interesting to how they find out how to, like, you know, combat the creatures. Obviously, I'm not going to spoil that, because that's you know, obviously a huge spoiler thing. But yeah, so it's really just. You know, again, visual storytelling is on point in this movie. There's so many moments where you can kind of just tell what they're kind of trying to convey just by the way the expressions on their face and the way they're kind of moving and, like, hand gestures and stuff. And yes, sometimes they do have subtitles for the sign language, but it's not necessarily used too much. Honestly, you could probably watch this movie with the sound off and almost get the same experience. I mean, maybe there'd be a couple things, not completely. I mean, sound is definitely an important part to it, but you could get a basic idea of what's going on. The sound design in this is really good too. You know, like, just the way they do an interesting thing with the deaf girl that I really liked, which is whenever there's, like, a close-up of, like, the other characters, you know, you can hear things that are going on in the background. You can hear the leaves rustling in the background. You can hear, you know, whatever. But when it does a close-up on the deaf girl, it goes completely silent. And I really like that technique. I think that's kind of that's how they convey that she is deaf. Like, at the beginning, it's not like they have a character sitting there like, oh yeah, you're my deaf daughter, hey. it doesn't do that kind of thing where it like does weird explanations for things. You just kind of figure it out because it's like the other characters, it goes up on them and it's like you can hear everything. It goes up on her, you can't hear anything, so you kind of figure out, oh, okay, that means she must be deaf. And then you realize that throughout the rest of it, you kind of see more clues that kind of show you that as well. But yeah, so it doesn't try to over-explain things. You just kind of figure things out as it goes. And one thing that it does really well that I think is a really good thing in horror movies, that when horror movies do that, is fear of the unknown. Obviously, horror movies, the emotion that it's feeding off of is fear, right? But what are you more afraid of than something you don't understand, something you have no clue what it is or where it came from or anything about it. This does utilize that method of horror. Something that was, the pinnacle of that method was probably in something like Alien. But yeah, this movie does that really well as well, where you have no clue where these monsters came from or anything, which to some people that might seem a little bit like ridiculous, like, oh, come on, they just kind of randomly showed up. Where did they come from? How is this not explained? But in a horror movie, it works when you don't explain those things, because you don't know what to expect from them. You don't know where they came from or what they're capable of even. And so it kind of adds to that, again, the fear of the unknown. I love that so much. And you could probably tell how much I really liked this movie just based on how much I'm talking about it. Like, sometimes when I watch a movie and I do a review on it, I talk for like a few minutes and then I'm kind of like, that's basically all I have to say about it. I don't really want to do the review anymore. You can kind of tell. But with this one, I'm just still talking about it and I'm still really into talking about it. I loved this. Definitely one of the best movies of the year so far. I think it's definitely one of the top 2 best movies of the year so far. I don't know if I would like it better than Annihilation or not, because so far Annihilation is my favorite movie of the year. I don't know if I like this better or not. I think I do, maybe, but I have to think about that a little bit. I might adjust my list a little bit. I don't know. Maybe I'll watch Annihilation again sometime and watch this again sometime by the end of the year, and maybe kind of decide based on watching them again or thinking about it a little bit more. So I don't know. But yeah. I can't say enough. If you want a good horror movie, watch it. Another thing, I didn't mention this yet. Oh my gosh, I keep thinking of more things to mention. That's how much I love this movie. That it does really well is the whole kind of, how there's like the horror movies where like you don't really care because what happens and you're not very invested because you don't care about the characters and you're just kind of like, I don't care if these characters die, so why do I care to watch it? This one, you actually do care about the characters. First off, a couple things. First off, you like them because they're very intelligent and resourceful. You can tell that based on how they were able to find ways to survive and find interesting ways of doing that. And also, they just seem very genuine. Like, they're just a family that wants to survive. The parents, all they want to do is save their kids, and also like, you see these couple kids, you obviously want them to survive. And also the actors pull it off really well to make them feel like really believable characters. And that's really good. It works, you really feel for the characters and really want them to make it out alive, which really adds to the level of suspense in the film. So I guess that's all I have to say. There's probably more I could talk about. I loved this movie so much. I'm usually not a huge horror movie fan, but I actually loved this one. It was so good. But yeah, so if you want a good horror movie, again, go see it. That's all I have to say is if you want a good horror movie, see this. Even if you don't like horror movies, you might still want to go see it. It's just a good movie in general. Not much more I can say about it other than that. So yeah, so that's really about all I have for my review here. I would mention a couple other things like I usually do at the end of my videos, but this has been going on longer than I think. Longer than usual, I think. So I guess that's all for this video. So go see it. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you loved it as much as I do, or if you, for some reason, don't like it. I mean, most people seem to be really liking this movie. Most people have seen it, so that's good. But yeah, so let me know what your thoughts are of the movie in the comments if you saw it. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.
The gents and ladies, I spoil loyal fans. I foil your plans and leave fluids leaking like oil pans. My coiled hands around this microphone are lethal. One thought in my cerebral is deeper than a jeep full of people. MCs are feeble. I came to cause some pandemonium. Battle a band of phony MCs, a stand a lonely one. Imitator, intimidator, stimulator, simulator of data, eliminator.